There is a quiet magic in the early hours of the morning. The streets are still, the world is calm, and there is a sense that you have the whole day ahead of you untouched, full of possibility. Robin Sharma's The 5 a.m. Club is built on this very idea, that waking up at 5 in the morning can transform your life in ways you never imagined. This is not just about getting up early for the sake of it. It is about creating a daily ritual that sets you ahead of the rest of the world before the world has even begun. Sharma tells the story through a fable about an artist and an entrepreneur who meet an eccentric billionaire. This billionaire is not flashy or arrogant, but wise and deeply intentional in how he lives his life. He invites them on a journey to learn his most important lesson, how to master their mornings to elevate their lives. At first, the idea of waking up at 5 a.m. sounds almost cruel to them. Why would anyone willingly leave a warm bed so early? But as the story unfolds, they begin to see that those quiet hours hold the power to shape the rest of their day and ultimately, the rest of their lives. The concept is simple: the way you start your day determines how you live your day. And the way you live your days determines the quality of your life. At 5 a.m., there are no phone calls, no emails, no distractions. It is the perfect time to focus on the things that matter most: your health, your growth, your goals, and your inner peace. Sharma calls it the victory hour, and he breaks it down into the 20/20/20 formula: 20 minutes for movement, 20 minutes for reflection, and 20 minutes for learning. It sounds simple, but when done consistently, it can lead to extraordinary results. In this book, you will hear how the artist and the entrepreneur's lives change as they embrace this habit. You will see how they overcome resistance, find discipline, and begin to create mornings that fuel their bodies, sharpen their minds, and strengthen their spirits. The 5 a.m. Club is not about being a morning person by nature, it is about becoming one by choice. It is about understanding that greatness is less about talent and more about habits. And one of the most life-changing habits you can adopt is to claim the first hour of your day for yourself before the world claims it for its demands. So, in this journey, let us walk alongside these characters as they travel to breathtaking places, meet fascinating people, and learn timeless lessons about productivity, creativity, and personal mastery, all rooted in the power of the early morning. This is the 5 a.m. Club, and your invitation to rise before the sun, to own your morning, and to elevate your life. The story begins at a leadership conference. The room is filled with people looking for answers: leaders, professionals, creatives, all hoping for that one idea that will help them break through the noise and take their lives to the next level. Among them are two strangers who could not be more different. One is an artist. She is talented, but she feels stuck. Her creativity has been drying up, and she is doubting whether she is truly cut out for the life she dreamed of. The other is an entrepreneur, sharp, ambitious, but worn down by stress. His company is struggling, and so is his health. Both of them have reached a point where they know something has to change, but they are not sure what. As they sit in the audience, the conference's keynote speaker takes the stage. He is magnetic, confident, and full of insights about leadership and success. But in the middle of his talk, something unexpected happens. An older man sitting in the front row raises his hand and begins to speak. At first, people think he is just another attendee. But his words carry a weight and a clarity that captures everyone's attention. He speaks about the importance of owning your morning. He talks about how the quiet hours before the world wakes up are when the greatest minds and leaders do their best thinking. He calls it the victory hour, the most important 60 minutes of your day. And then he says something that makes everyone in the room pause. If you win the morning, you win the day. And if you win the day, you can win your life. The artist and the entrepreneur are intrigued. This man is not on the official schedule, yet his presence is commanding. Later, they find out he is not just any man, he is a billionaire. But he did not get there by working himself into the ground. Instead, he built his fortune while living a life of balance, freedom, and meaning. And his biggest secret? The 5 a.m. habit. The billionaire invites them to join him on a journey. He promises to teach them the strategies that transformed his life, strategies that go far beyond waking up early. At first, they hesitate. The idea of seeing the sun rise on purpose feels almost ridiculous to them. But there is something about his confidence, his calm energy, that makes them say yes. The next morning, the alarm clock feels cruel. At 4:45 a.m., the world outside is dark and silent. The artist wants to pull the blanket over her head. The entrepreneur is tempted to hit the snooze button. But curiosity and maybe a little pride pushes them out of bed. When they meet the billionaire, he leads them outside into the cool morning air. The sky is still black, but slowly, the first streaks of light begin to appear. He tells them to listen, really listen to the silence. In this hour, there are no demands, no notifications, no noise from the world. Just space. Space to think, to move, to plan, to grow. As the sun rises, the billionaire begins to share his philosophy. He explains that the first hour of the day is the golden hour for self-mastery. It is when you strengthen your body, sharpen your mind, and nourish your soul. He promises to teach them his 20/20/20 formula: 20 minutes for intense movement, 20 minutes for deep reflection, and 20 minutes for focused learning. He smiles and says, "This habit will feel hard at first. Your bed will try to trap you. Your mind will give you excuses. But if you can push through the first few weeks, you will begin to see changes that will amaze you. Your energy will grow. Your focus will sharpen. And you will feel more alive than you have in years." The artist and the entrepreneur do not know it yet, but this early morning in the dark will mark the beginning of a transformation that will touch every part of their lives. The next morning, the artist and the entrepreneur meet the billionaire again, this time in a quiet cafe that seems to exist outside of time. The air smells of fresh coffee, and the soft music in the background is almost hypnotic. The billionaire sits at a small corner table, sipping tea, his eyes bright with energy despite the early hour. "You are here," he says with a smile. "Most people would have chosen their pillow over this moment. But you have already made a different choice. And the choices you make daily create the life you live." The entrepreneur, still rubbing his eyes, asks the question that has been bothering him. "Why 5 a.m.? Why not 6 or 7? The billionaire leans forward. "Because at 5 a.m., the world is asleep. There are no demands on your time, no distractions. It is a time when you can focus fully on yourself, your body, your mind, your spirit before the chaos of the day arrives. If you give the first hour to yourself, you will be stronger for the remaining 23. He takes out a notebook and writes 3 words, "Victory Hour." "This is the foundation," he says. "And here's how it works: the 20/20/20 formula." He explains the first 20 minutes, move. Physical activity first thing in the morning increases your dopamine, lowers your cortisol, and wakes up your brain. He tells them about his own routine: a quick run, push-ups, stretching. "It is not about being perfect," he says. "It is about signaling to your body that it is time to wake up and win." The artist laughs. "So you want me to sweat before the sun even comes up?" "Yes," he replies. "Because it will change your state instantly. And when your state changes, your thoughts change. And when your thoughts change, your life changes." The second 20 minutes, reflect. Journaling, meditating, visualizing. This is the time to set your intentions for the day. Ask yourself, who do I want to be today? What really matters right now? Do not just react to life, design it. He shares a story of a CEO he once coached, a man constantly overwhelmed by decisions. When this CEO started journaling at 5 a.m., his clarity skyrocketed. He stopped chasing distractions and started focusing on the few actions that created the biggest results. The last 20 minutes, grow. Read a book. Listen to a podcast. Study something new. Your income will never exceed your learning, the billionaire says. Every morning is a chance to get a little smarter, a little wiser. Compound that over years, and you will be unstoppable. The entrepreneur nods slowly. He realizes he has been spending his mornings scrolling through emails and social media, filling his mind with noise instead of knowledge. The billionaire finishes his tea and leans back. Most people think success is about working harder during the day. But the truth is, success is about what you do before the day even starts. This hour is where you build the strength, the focus, and the creativity to dominate the rest of the day. Before they leave, he gives them one last piece of advice: guard this hour like your life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. The artist and the entrepreneur step back into the early morning air. The city is just starting to wake. Car engines hum in the distance, shopkeepers lift their shutters, and a pale golden light spreads across the sky. For the first time in a long time, they feel like they are ahead, not just ahead of their schedule, but ahead of themselves from yesterday. And somewhere deep down, they both sense that if they keep going, they might just change everything. By the third day, the artist and the entrepreneur have begun to feel the subtle effects of waking at 5 a.m., though it is not always easy. Their bodies resist, their minds grumble, and for a few moments each morning, the comfort of their bed seems irresistible. But each time they push through, they notice something shifting, a sense of control, a clarity that was missing before. The billionaire explains why consistency is the secret. The early hours alone are powerful, he says, but power without habit fades quickly. Your life changes not in a day, but in the compound effect of repeated actions. He tells them a story from his own youth, when he struggled with laziness and indecision. By committing to small, disciplined actions every morning, he transformed not just his productivity but his identity. He was no longer someone who tried to succeed, he became someone who naturally succeeded. He introduces a new idea, the four interior empires: mindset, heartset, healthset, and soulset. Many people focus only on their skills or knowledge, but true mastery requires balance across all four. Mindset is about clarity of thought and focus. The morning hour helps sharpen the mind because it is free from distractions. The artist notices that as she writes her journal each morning, ideas flow more freely. What used to feel like a struggle to create now comes naturally. Heartset is about emotional intelligence. The billionaire tells them, if your heart is heavy, your mind cannot function well. Your emotions control your energy. By reflecting and journaling, they are learning to process feelings, forgive past mistakes, and approach the day with gratitude and intention. Healthset is the physical component. Moving first thing in the morning is not just about exercise, it is about signaling to your body that you value it. The entrepreneur admits that before this, he would often skip breakfast, rush to work, and feel drained by mid-morning. Now, 20 minutes of movement leaves him energized and alert. Soulset is about purpose and connection. The billionaire asks them to visualize the life they want, to imagine the impact they hope to leave. This is not daydreaming, it is deliberate planning and aligning actions with values. The artist feels a sense of calm and direction she has not felt in years, realizing that her creativity can serve a bigger purpose. The billionaire emphasizes that these four empires are interconnected. A weak heartset undermines your mindset. Poor health weakens your soulset. Mastery comes when all four are nurtured daily. The 5 a.m. ritual is the launchpad, the time when each empire gets attention before the chaos of the day sets in. He also warns them about the distractions of mediocrity. Most people drift through their days, reacting to what others demand, surrendering their mornings to the digital noise of social media, emails, and unimportant tasks. The early riser, however, owns the first part of their day and, by extension, their life. The entrepreneur starts to see patterns in his own life. He recognizes how he had been chasing urgent tasks instead of important ones. The artist sees how she had been waiting for inspiration instead of creating it. The billionaire's guidance is slowly transforming not just their mornings but their way of thinking. As they leave the cafe, the sunrise is breathtaking. The city streets are quiet, the air is crisp, and the light seems to promise new beginnings. They are learning that waking at 5 a.m. is not punishment, it is privilege. It is the gift of uninterrupted time to build themselves before life tries to pull them apart. By the end of part 3, the lesson is clear: mastery begins in the morning, but it is built through consistent practice. Discipline overcomes comfort. Awareness overcomes distraction. And the quiet victory of the early hour sets the stage for extraordinary days and, ultimately, extraordinary lives. By the fourth day, the artist and the entrepreneur are beginning to feel the power of their new routine. Waking up at 5 a.m. is still challenging, but the rewards are becoming undeniable. They notice a shift in how they approach their work, their creativity, and their relationships. The mornings are no longer just about being awake, they are about being alive in a new way. The billionaire introduces a crucial concept: the twin cycles of elite performance. He explains that high achievers operate in two cycles: intense focus and deep recovery. Most people believe that working harder and longer leads to success. But the reality, he says, is that without rest, recovery, and reflection, performance diminishes. Your mornings are your sacred time, he tells them. But so is your recovery. If you want to perform at your peak, you must balance high intensity with restorative practices. He shares how elite athletes, world-class musicians, and top entrepreneurs all adhere to this principle. They train hard, but they also rest hard. They practice deliberately, but they also recharge deliberately. For the artist and the entrepreneur, this is a revelation. The entrepreneur recalls how he used to stay up late answering emails, sacrificing sleep for work. The artist remembers nights of endless scrolling and distraction, thinking she was being productive. Both realize they have been burning their energy without replenishing it, which stunted their creativity and clarity. The billionaire then brings them back to the victory hour. He emphasizes that movement, reflection, and growth are not just activities, they are rituals that tune the mind, heart, body, and soul. He explains that these rituals, when practiced consistently, create a compounding effect. A single morning may feel small, but over weeks, months, and years, the difference is monumental. He shares a story about a young writer he once coached. This writer was struggling with procrastination and self-doubt. By committing to the 5 a.m. routine, the writer began each day with intention and clarity. Within 6 months, she had completed her first novel. Within a year, she had transformed her self-confidence and her daily productivity. The billionaire stresses that it is not talent alone that creates results, it is the habit of disciplined, purposeful mornings. The entrepreneur and the artist also begin to notice subtle changes in themselves. They are calmer during stressful situations. Their focus has improved. Even small challenges at work or in life no longer feel overwhelming. By investing the first hour of the day in themselves, they are better prepared for everything that comes after. The billionaire adds another layer: environment shapes habits. If you want to wake up early consistently, you must prepare the night before. He encourages them to create an environment that supports their morning victory: sleep early, avoid screens before bed, and set out everything needed for the morning routine. Small adjustments, he says, make the habit almost effortless. Finally, he challenges them to think beyond themselves. The victory hour is not just about personal gain, it is about creating the capacity to contribute more to the world. When your mind is sharp, your heart is centered, and your energy is high, you can give your best to your work, your family, and your community. As they step outside into the soft morning light, both the artist and the entrepreneur feel a sense of purpose they have never experienced. The city is waking up, but for the first time, they feel they are ahead of the day, in control, and ready to create. Part 4 teaches a vital lesson: true mastery is not just about doing more, it is about doing better. It is about balancing focus with recovery, intention with action, and self-care with contribution. The morning is not just an hour, it is the launchpad for a life of excellence. As the days progress, the artist and the entrepreneur begin to notice that their mornings are no longer just routines, they are transformations. The 5 a.m. ritual is shaping not only their productivity but their mindset, their creativity, and even their sense of self-worth. They are learning that how they start the day sets the tone for everything that follows. The billionaire introduces them to another essential idea: the habit installation protocol. He explains that building a new habit is not about willpower alone. It is a carefully timed process that involves pushing through resistance, repetition, and reinforcement. He tells them that the first 20 days are brutal, their minds will fight against the change, their bodies will crave comfort, and doubt will whisper that it is not worth the effort. But then comes the second phase, from day 21 to day 40, the second resistance. The habit begins to form, yet old behaviors sneak in. The artist feels tempted to skip her morning run after a long night of work. The entrepreneur struggles with checking emails first thing, feeling the pull of his old routines. The billionaire reminds them that consistency is key, it is the repeated act, even when inconvenient, that solidifies the habit. By the 41st day, something remarkable begins to happen. The habit becomes automatic. The victory hour is no longer a struggle, it is a source of energy and clarity. They wake up not because they have to, but because they want to. The artist finds her creativity flowing in ways she never imagined, sketching and writing effortlessly. The entrepreneur notices that his decision-making is sharper, and he feels calmer under pressure. The billionaire shares a story from his own life. When he was building his empire, he committed to waking at 5 a.m. every day, no matter where he was in the world. Even during travel, even when exhausted, he adhered to the routine. Over years, the small daily victories compounded into enormous advantages, insights, opportunities, and a level of focus that others could not match. He emphasizes that these early hours are not just about getting ahead, they are about personal mastery. By dedicating time to your mind, body, and soul first, you create a life that is intentional rather than reactive. You stop letting the world dictate your priorities and begin dictating them yourself. The billionaire then challenges them to think about the 4 interior empires again: mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set. These are not separate areas, they interact and reinforce one another. A strong mind without a strong body falters. A motivated heart without purpose drifts. Nourishing each empire daily during the early morning hours creates balance and resilience. For the artist, the focus on her interior empires awakens a deeper sense of confidence. She realizes that her fear of failure had been holding her back, but now, with clarity and energy, she can take bold steps in her career. For the entrepreneur, the routine strengthens discipline and mental clarity, allowing him to make better strategic decisions for his company. The billionaire concludes part 5 with a reminder that time is the ultimate currency. Every early morning is an investment in the life they want to live. The hours before the world wakes up are sacred because they are free from interruptions and influence. How they spend this time determines their potential, not just for today, but for the years ahead. By the end of this part, the lesson is clear: waking up early is not a punishment or a chore. It is a strategic advantage. It is the foundation for extraordinary performance, creativity, and fulfillment. The victory hour is where ordinary days transform into extraordinary lives. By the 6th day, the artist and the entrepreneur are no longer just experimenting with the 5 a.m. routine, they are beginning to embody it. The mornings feel different now. There is a quiet confidence that grows with each sunrise. They notice that challenges during the day feel less overwhelming, decisions are made with clarity, and creativity flows naturally. The billionaire introduces them to the concept of the 90/90/1 rule. He explains, for the next 90 days, spend the first 90 minutes of your workday focused on the single most important project that will move your life forward. Nothing else. No emails, no meetings, no distractions. Give it your full energy and attention. The entrepreneur reflects on his work and realizes how much time he wastes reacting to others' demands instead of focusing on what truly matters. The artist sees the same pattern in her creative projects. Days filled with minor tasks leave little energy for meaningful work. The billionaire emphasizes that this focused time, combined with the victory hour, creates a compounding effect. Small, consistent investments in the right work produce extraordinary results over time. Next, he speaks about the second wind, a mental state achieved through the early morning ritual that allows you to sustain energy throughout the day. Many people struggle with fatigue because their mornings are reactive, filled with stress and distraction. But by exercising, reflecting, and learning during the first hour, the body and mind are energized, creating momentum that lasts far beyond the morning. The artist notices that she can now complete tasks in the first half of the day that would have previously taken the entire day. The entrepreneur finds that problem solving comes easier, and he approaches meetings and negotiations with a calm, focused mind. Both feel a sense of mastery they had never experienced before. The billionaire also introduces mindset conditioning during the victory hour. He teaches them to use visualization, affirmations, and journaling to program their minds for success. What you see in your mind each morning shapes what happens in your life, he says. If you visualize clarity, courage, and creativity, your actions will follow. He shares the story of an Olympic athlete who visualized every movement of her routine each morning before training. By the time she physically performed, her body had already internalized perfection. The same principle applies to life and work. By conditioning the mind early, you prepare yourself to execute with excellence. The billionaire reminds them that consistency beats intensity. You do not need to push yourself to extremes, the key is showing up every day, even when it feels difficult. The habit compounds silently, strengthening your mind, body, and soul. Over months, the transformation becomes undeniable. By the end of part 6, the artist and entrepreneur feel unstoppable. They understand that waking up early is not just about getting ahead of the day, it is about creating the life they truly want. They are building resilience, focus, and energy that touches every aspect of their lives. The lesson of this part is clear: mastery, performance, and fulfillment are not about doing more during the day, but about starting the day right. The victory hour, combined with focused work, visualization, and consistent habits, gives them a foundation that is stronger than any external circumstance. As the journey reaches its 7th day, the artist and the entrepreneur have begun to feel a profound transformation. The 5 a.m. ritual is no longer a challenge or a task, it is a source of energy, clarity, and purpose that carries them throughout the day. They begin to understand the deeper lesson Robin Sharma is conveying, that small, consistent actions, taken before the world wakes, compound into extraordinary results over time. The billionaire emphasizes the importance of mastery over your life, not just your work. When you control your morning, He says, you control your mindset, your energy, and your focus. You set the trajectory of your entire day. And the trajectory of your days shapes your life. He reminds them of the 20/20/20 formula: 20 minutes of movement, 20 minutes of reflection, 20 minutes of growth, and points out how it has started to ripple into other areas. The artist notices her creativity is more vivid. She writes, sketches, and plans with clarity she never had before. The entrepreneur finds himself making decisions calmly, with a level of strategic thinking that surprises even his colleagues. The billionaire then shares the final key lesson, the habit of lifelong learning and growth. He explains that waking at 5 a.m. is not about short-term gains, it is about creating a lifelong habit of discipline, focus, and intentionality. Each morning, no matter where you are, you invest in yourself, your body, your mind, and your spirit. Over years, these investments compound into the person you aspire to become. He tells them the story of several successful people he has mentored: leaders, artists, and entrepreneurs who attribute their achievements not to talent alone, but to the structure and discipline of their mornings. Those who rose early consistently outperformed those who worked harder but without structure. They had energy, clarity, and resilience that set them apart. The artist and entrepreneur realize that the 5 a.m. ritual is not about a fixed time on the clock, it is about claiming ownership of your life. It is about dedicating the first hour to what matters most before the distractions of the world take hold. This is the time to align with your purpose, sharpen your mind, and build habits that sustain success and fulfillment. As they watch the sun rise together, the billionaire smiles and says, the world belongs to those who show up fully, every day. You now have the tools. Your mornings are yours. Guard them fiercely. They will transform your days, and in time, your life. The artist reflects on how far she has come. She feels a sense of freedom she never thought possible: the freedom to create, to focus, to grow. The entrepreneur feels the same: clarity, energy, and an inner calm that allows him to lead with confidence. Both understand that the small sacrifice of waking early yields rewards far beyond their expectations. Part 7 concludes with the understanding that extraordinary results are not achieved by luck or genius alone. They come from small, consistent, intentional actions. The 5 a.m. hour is the catalyst, the launchpad for living intentionally, performing at your best, and creating the life you truly desire. By embracing this habit, the artist and the entrepreneur have not only learned to win their mornings but also to win their lives. And for anyone listening, the message is simple: the world is still asleep when you rise. What you do in those early hours will define the trajectory of your life. As we come to the end of the 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma, it is clear that this book is more than a guide to waking up early, it is a roadmap to transforming your life. The story of the artist, the entrepreneur, and the wise billionaire teaches us that the first hour of the day is the most important, and how we use it can shape everything that follows. We have seen how dedicating the early morning to movement, reflection, and growth creates energy, clarity, and resilience. We have learned about the power of habit, consistency, and intentionality. The lessons are simple, yet profound. Waking early is not about being a morning person by nature, but about making a conscious choice to invest in yourself before the world demands your attention. Robin Sharma reminds us that extraordinary lives are built through small, consistent actions, repeated day after day. The 5 a.m. hour is the foundation upon which focus, creativity, and personal mastery are built. By claiming this time, you gain the clarity to pursue what truly matters, the energy to tackle challenges, and the mindset to keep growing. The story shows that it is not talent or luck that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, but the habits we cultivate. The artist and the entrepreneur's journey illustrates how discipline, focus, and intentional mornings lead to transformation in all areas of life: work, relationships, creativity, and health. For anyone listening on Books Arena, the message is simple: the world is still asleep when you rise. By taking ownership of your morning, you take ownership of your life. Every sunrise is an opportunity to start fresh, to align with your purpose, and to move closer to the person you aspire to become. Remember, the path is not always easy. Your bed will tempt you, your mind will make excuses, and the world will pull you in countless directions. But if you commit to this practice, even for a few weeks, you will feel the difference. Energy, focus, and clarity will become your companions, guiding you toward extraordinary days and an extraordinary life. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the 5 a.m. Club here on Books Arena. Take these lessons to heart, rise before the world, and watch as your mornings and your life transform into something remarkable.